Good morning, everyone. This is Dan, your host here at the Hypnocafe podcast and magazine. So, we are here today and we're going to be talking with some really great guests. See if we're live here. Are we live? I'm checking, guys. All right, we are live. There we go. So, we have got some really great guests today on the Hypnocafe podcast and magazine, and you always have to check and make sure that you're live. And just a couple of quick housekeeping tips. If you are liking and enjoying our podcast, please check us out on YouTube, Amazon Prime, Amazon Prime, Spotify, iHeartRadio, here on Facebook, so that we can continue to grow our incredible audience and have just amazing guests. So today we are talking about conference season, why we go, what to expect, what to know, and all of those little tricks that make your stay so much better than mine. And we're going to be talking about my stay. I can actually hear somebody laughing about my stay because they know what happened to me. So without further ado, I'm going to just introduce our guests and bring them on. So from Trauma and Transcendence podcast, the amazing Amanda Dodd. There
Morning.
she is. All right. And of course, the ever amazing Jim Kellner from Hypno News Podcast. For all your things that you need to know what's happening in the world of hypnosis, you've got to check out Hypno News Podcast. I watch it every Thursday at 8 o'clock. Was that right, Jim? Every Thursday, 8 o'clock?
Yeah. 8 o'clock Eastern, right.
8 o'clock Eastern. And of course, all the way across the pond, the co-host of the Hypno News, Grant Saunders. See if this will actually work out here. We're bringing Grant. There's Grant. And last but not least, the creator of organic hypnosis. That's right. He grows his own hypnosis, ladies and gentlemen. It's all organic, all natural. Vinny Brigance.
Oh.
Sorry, Vince. I couldn't resist, man. Could not resist. So, all natural. So I want to thank everybody for joining me here on the cafe. I see that everybody's got their coffee and tea and everything's going pretty good. So, well, maybe Grant's got vodka. I don't know.
Definitely tea. Yorkshire tea as well, proper tea.
Yorkshire proper tea. Not
tea.
The Earl Grey. So, not that Earl Grey stuff. Yorkshire tea. Proper stuff.
Yorkshire tea.
No. All right. Well, thank you guys for being here today. And let us know where you are coming in from. Hey, Sean is here. The amazing captain. So there is Sean, our great guy. So, yeah.
Nice.
Great mug.
Okay.
It's a gorgeous mug there, Vinny.
Yeah.
It is so pretty. That mug is so pretty. The only mug I have is my annual Fremont Street Las Vegas mug, which I get every year. Just got back from HypnoThoughts, the world's largest hypnosis conference everywhere. It was amazing. I'd like to say I had a great time. I had a good time at the conference.
Yeah.
I wound up staying off site because I had a business meeting at the Luxor. And that business meeting, it didn't go well. It did not go well, but there was a silver lining with the Gold Coast. So we will say that, and there'll be more about that later today. But anyways, let's jump into this, guys, as I go back here. So, and be sure to let us know where you are watching from. So we've welcomed our guests. I'm just looking at this. So conference season, the things we need to know. The reason I brought this up is, once again, while I was there at the Sahara, beautiful hotel, wasn't it?
Really nice.
Yeah.
Gorgeous.
Yeah. I was having breakfast down there at, what was the name of the restaurant? Zephyrs. Yeah. I got there that first day for the conference. I walked up. There's like 4 people just in line. I'm ahead of them. They've all got HypnoThoughts. So I'm like, come on, guys. I got a table. Let's go. So we all sat down. And they were like, hey, I want to ask you a question, Dan. So because a couple of them got there and they weren't ready for some of those periphery calls. So I wanted to start with that. So let's start with Amanda. She's shaking her head. So go ahead, Amanda.
Yeah, I was not ready for that. It didn't happen during booking. There was no email note of, hey, by the way, we're going to charge you an extra $450. Be ready for that. That never
What?
came. So it was at the front desk, and I'm like, sweet, there goes my food budget. Yeah, so no, prepare for that, because they will not tell you sometimes ahead of time. I think they assume that people will just know, and I don't travel that often, so I didn't just know.
So yeah,
It's a great point that as well, especially for international travellers, because I know when I travel, I know a couple of other guys as well. We kind of take prepaid credit cards that we make sure that if we get mugged or something like that, that happens, we've got a little bit of protection. So if you've got a prepaid card and you travel with that, and then all of a sudden you are hit with a surprise bill, it can be a challenge. So I know the first year that came as a bit of a surprise, to say the least.
yeah. One of the tricks I've learned is I've booked most of my trips with Expedia. I'm a gold member. I don't know what that means, but okay, I'm special somewhere. What I'll do is if I'm going to book a hotel, even if I'm booking through the conference site, to get that room rate, I will still go over to Expedia, look at the hotel, go into their policies, because if you go down there, it will give you their incidental price and costs so that you can plan accordingly. And I've got a little list of those. I'm just going to take a quick peek. I found some of them. So like if you stay at let's say the Link experience, the incidental hold is $50 a day. So you can kind of get a look at that. And then if you go up to the Sahara, where we were all at, the incidentals was $100 a day. So that is one of the tricks I've always said that people that they don't travel a lot, even if you're booking through the hotel to get that hotel rate, one, you can always ask when you're booking, call and ask, what's your hold?
That's
What's your
what I do.
incidental rate?
That's what
Yes,
I
yeah.
I always call, especially with Vegas, and find out. I want to know what it's going to be total with taxes and the fee, and then the deposit, because I've been fooled too many times.
So, Vinny?
Yeah, no, I gotta say, I'm taking notes over here because a couple of those things hit me too, and I was like, all right, I don't know, I'm just here. Let's have fun. I wound up hopping over to the Walgreens. It's right across the street, and I just bought a bunch of nuts and food there. And I was happy just to snack in my room a couple times during the day, and then just have a meal with all you awesome people. So it didn't keep me. It was like a budget-friendly way to have a lot of fun, save some cash there. Buy you guys a couple drinks at the bar. It was awesome. I love that.
Definitely. Yeah.
So, yeah, and we're going to talk about saving money because I know that Jim and both Grant have, you guys have the other podcast, which is on Amazon, Business Tools. I can't think of it, guys. I've watched it.
Entrepreneur tools for solopreneurs. Don't even ask Grant. He won't know.
He has a different name every week.
He will make stuff up. Every week it'll be something different.
So, yeah, we're going to be talking about that because I was watching Hypno News, and you did a product thing, Jim, and I just thought to myself, oh, that is genius. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. So one of the other things is when we are going to these conferences, right, the things we need to know is how to make the best out of your trip. And before you apply to be a speaker, there's some things you need to know. A couple people asked me this from other conferences. Before you apply to be a speaker, you want to be looking at the entire website, not just the application for the speaker point, because a lot of people, I had about 4 or 5 questions. I think it was Heartland. It's Heartland. So I didn't know there was a speaker fee. They applied, and then there's a speaker fee, and then there's the hotel. And because of that, sometimes they'll back out. They'll apply, they'll get, picked. Then they got to pay the speaker fee and the hotel fee. And they're like, oh, wait a minute. Whoa. I didn't know about that. I'm backing out. So that is, I'm going to say that right now, man. Make sure that you are looking over the conference website, because it's necessary. I know that both Jim and Grant do the Performing Hypnosis Summit, and I know that Jim does the Pacific Northwest. Has that happened to you guys?
Yeah. Well, performing, we don't have a we couldn't charge a speaker fee.
No.
There's no way. We're not going to tell Tom Silver he's got to pay $125 to come and speak. We have had that issue, and there are people out there that are like, oh, I don't do pay to play, and there are always people that I don't care if they come. So it's not like if it was, and honestly, I mean, if the thing is like there's a huge cost of putting on these things, and it's challenging, and it's not like we're getting rich off this thing. I wish I was, but it helps offset the cost of food, because the cost of food is just in fact it's our biggest cost. It's one of our biggest costs if we were going through the like, well, Dan, I'm sure it's one of your biggest costs because you go through the catering at the hotel. Fortunately, we don't at Pacific Northwest, and we don't even offer food at PHS. Like, you're on your own.
It's one of those things I do understand when these conferences do put on a speaker fee, because it's about commitment. Lots of times people kind of go, oh, I'm really excited, I'm going to go do this thing. And then they put in the speaker application, they get accepted, and then life gets in the way sometimes. And because if not, I mean, most of these conferences, the speaker fee is a small fee anyway.
It is.
Yeah. But it's that commitment. Me as a Yorkshireman, if I've spent $50 or $100 on something, I'm going there. Even if it costs me $1,000 to get there, I'm still going to do it, because it's money well spent. And so I kind of get that kind of. I know in the early days, I think HypnoBiz New York did it. There was a $100 speaker fee, but then when you attended the conference, you got your $100 back. And so I do kind of get it. But as a performer, like especially for like PHS, from the performance side of things, to ask people to pay to speak, it does jar with us on that. So again, PHS, there is no speaker fee for that conference. But I completely understand the conferences that do that.
So, I have a small speaker fee myself. I think it's the lowest in the lands, so, per se.
Yeah, for sure.
So let's ask Vinny. So let's ask Vincent and Amanda. I don't think they did a speaker fee this year at Hypno Thoughts.
Right. Yeah.
No.
Actually, I was a 20 minutes, so I did have a small ticket cost, but it was reduced. Yeah.
Okay.
And that's that's reasonable. Yeah.
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 So,
do you feel comfortable sharing what the rate is if you're a 20-minute speaker?
You're trusting my memory more than I do. I want to say it was around $325. I think. I may be wrong.
Yeah, because if you're a full blown speaker, if you do an hour or more, of course the total cost is covered. So I was trying to just make sure people know the difference there. So that first year, you still got to pay some.
Yeah.
So, but that's greatly reduced. I think towards the early birds, once that was worn off, I think it was almost 500. But most conferences are around that area, per se. So it becomes that's one of the things you save money, right? If you apply to speak and you get it, you're saving money going to the conference. And it helps them cover cost of food, the commitment. They make sure that those people are coming in to do it. Myself, this year, I went out there and did a 1-hour talk, so I didn't have to pay, which was kind of nice. But because I paid a lot. So let's talk about that. You guys are already laughing. So here's some of the things that you'll run into as you're traveling. This year was my year for the bad travel. I got to the Luxor first thing in the morning, cold shower. Then I wound up getting locked out of the room for a couple hours. As a matter of fact, I missed a breakfast meeting, I think with Vinny and Amanda, because I was locked out of the room. I couldn't get in to get my wallet or nothing because the 4 AA batteries had failed in the card thing. And luckily, I went down to the desk 3 or 4 times. I found a guy just roaming through the hallways, a maintenance dude that broke into the rooms, changed the battery, and I was good. It's not like the hotel took care of it. I took care of
Yeah.
Oh
it.
wow.
So,
A
yeah.
guy.
Yeah, just a maintenance guy. I'm
Guy.
coming down.
Hey, you.
The doors open. There he was, tools, everything. I was like, "How you doing, Bob? Come here." So I don't know if his name was Bob, but just in my head, he's Bob. So we took care of that. So, I mean, those are some of the glitches that you'll run into when you're traveling. Is that I mean, for me, that was the biggest glitch I think I've ever had traveling anywhere was cold shower, locked out a room. Oh, and then the AC failed. So,
Ooh,
yeah, yeah,
wow.
yeah.
What a great stay. No wonder we didn't see you very much.
Yeah, I was taking care of some other things. So there at the Luxor, and I actually went out for a business meeting that did not go well, and Jim and Grant kind of know about that. So, did anybody else have any glitches in their stay? I mean, I know Amanda's food budget was swallowed up. So,
The kicker was the whole. So here's another thing: is prepare for any possibility, because when that glitch happened, I actually got all my money back, and then they didn't charge my hotel until I was already home. So it's just like, well, this was fun.
Wowee.
Yeah.
I got a couple things. Dan, first off, your speech, you had the room rolling, man, and you were doing sciencey stuff, like intense sciencey stuff, and then punchline, and we were like, this is a wild ride. That was a hell of a job. We all really enjoyed that. So I thought that was really cool.
All that after a cold shower and no AC. Wow.
Michigan.
I had a quick question though. I was talking to Scott Sandlin. He was explaining how the early bird works, and they have the discounted rate. But he was saying that that's how they allocate costs for the conference. So if they get a lot of people that sign up for the early bird, it's actually to the advantage of the attendees.
Yeah.
Because it's like, now we got this budget, we know what to play with. That was something I wasn't aware of.
Mhm.
So you're helping yourself out in more than one way. You're saving money, and on top of that, now they can make a better experience for you. And I was completely, is that true for Pacific Northwest and for the Michigan Conference?
It's true. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you've
Yeah.
got, it gives you a good idea of kind of what numbers and kind of what you can play with. So you kind of get that reassurance of it's not going to cost you too much,
Right.
and you can kind of, you can build things out with that. Whereas if you don't have an idea of those numbers early on, you kind of playing a little bit of guesswork as well. So I think that rolls across all events.
That's good to know. Yeah, I was just curious about that. In terms of prep, like, I had the whole Delta fiasco, so it was a lot of it was getting home was tough.
Yeah.
But I think it's, aside from that logistics, they were fairly smooth. You know, the Sahara, it takes a million years to get into your room. That's how it goes. It's a very popular hotel. You're in that line for a while, but fortunately, there's 100 really cool hypnotists around, so you're just waving and saying hi. And I think that's the ROI there. I think is if you come to something 4 or 5 years in a row, now you've got a bunch of buddies, right? It's not your first time meeting people. It's like, oh, Jim's here. Oh my God, Amanda. You know, you're just thrilled.
Yeah.
So
It's also timing. I didn't have a lineup at all. I came in on Tuesday. It was dead. It was beautiful. But I did have to pay an early entrance room for my fee. Totally worth it.
yeah.
So, yeah, that is something that is, I think, new this year or in the last couple of years. As I have traveled, like I've gone out to the Pacific Northwest to that great conference, and if I'm doing an early check-in, I will usually just call ahead and tell them I'm going to be doing an early check-in, and any hotel worth their salt will get that done for you. I think Vegas is one of the few places where you have to pay that early fee, that $25 fee. So, that's another thing to be aware of. And you find that on Expedia. And I've got the thing up here. A rule of thumb for me is plan in advance. I'm planning where I'm going to be about a year out. Am I going to be here? Am I going to be there? I'm keeping an eye on the price of a flight. What do I want to say here, guys?
Flight reservations?
This. Thank you. I was having a rutabaga moment there, Jim.
And it changes. it changes seasonally too. So there are times where there are like peak times, and there are times to book where there's, not as much.
Yes, I knew I was going to be heading to Hypno Thoughts. I bought plane ticket. I bought a plane ticket. I think it was in July this year. I think I got that ticket in April, and I paid $200 for it. You try to book that same flight in July, you're hitting $400 or $500. So that becomes a thing. So if I know I'm going to be somewhere, even if I have to pay a little bit more for it to be refundable, I'll do that. So that's one of the other questions I had was, how do I save money on a flight? And I just told him, it's like, well, you got to buy it about 4 or 5 months before you go. Well, I don't know if I'm really going to go. Then pay the extra $20 for it to be refundable.
Yeah.
And you're good.
Yeah.
Why would I spend? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, a good tip that I've discovered the past couple of times I've flown, although it's only ever bit me on the ass once, and it depends where you fly from. So because going to the US, Dublin has a great relationship with the US. So it's cheaper and more convenient for me to fly from Dublin. So I will get a separate budget airline to fly to Dublin and then get my flights from Dublin to the US. I get a better connection, and the cost is generally probably a couple of $100 less than what it would be if I went from kind of Manchester or London Heathrow. So even the bigger airports here in the UK, if I fly from Dublin, it's quicker and less money. So again, check where you're kind of going from. A little bit of extra journey time might save you a few quid. Bucks.
So, yeah. I was going to say quid being money, guys.
Yeah. Proper money.
Proper money, sterling, silver, pounds, notes, if you will. So I'm just curious if you guys don't mind. I'm going to ask Vinny, how did you book your flight? You and Amanda. I know you guys were kind of a little bit more attendees.
Yeah, I would say up until now, I've been just a hardcore Delta advocate. Like Delta always does it right. Go Delta. And then never experienced this before with them. They bailed me out of situations where things went wrong in the past. So I literally just went to their website and booked there. Now I think I might be a little bit more flexible. Southwest did a bang up job. A little weird with the unassigned seating, but that's just a different experience. We kind of roll with it and have fun. And yeah, that's.
I can say that that Delta was the hardest hit. But my own experience was I was there at the gate. And that crew at my gate stepped up. They were getting, he's just like, oh, really? Thanks, Dan. Remind me to kick you next time I see you. They called for flight attendants and captains, and they were putting crews together and getting people out. But at the same time, there were some people that were stranded until Wednesday was the soonest rebook they could get. And so in a way, they stepped up as much as they could, but because they were the hardest hit, I think that there was great effort, but not a lot of ability, if I'm saying that right. So who else flew Delta?
I always fly. I try to fly Southwest whenever possible. For a couple of reasons. You can take 2 carry-on and 2 checked luggages at no extra cost. And the thing I love about them, you don't have to worry about cancellation fees. If you can reschedule your flight with no penalty. You can't get your money back, but you can just reschedule it. So if you change your mind, now you switch it to going to Hawaii or whatever. So I love Southwest, and I just heard, Vinny, that they're changing over to assigned seating.
Oh, nice. Look at that.
Yeah.
Incredible.
That was always weird. The seats used to face each other too. That was freaky. That was freaking weird.
I don't want to look at somebody.
You're like staring across at somebody. That was weird.
Well, being a hypnotist, I don't think that would be a problem, Vinny. I mean, you'd be like, hey, you know what? Let me show you this trick. And
for sure, they would be asleep.
Now I'm reading my book. So
for sure, there'd be eye closure. We're not gonna...
Yeah. Let me show you this. It's organic. It's homegrown. Check it out.
Right.
So,
yeah.
I used to do that a lot in my hypnosis stuff. I would just hold it up and be like, so if you look right here, and then people would look at it and I'd give it a color and then everything. And they're like, oh, that's so cool. I'm like, there's nothing there. What are you looking at? Uh, so yeah. But the other thing, I want to go back as we're talking about these flights. I want to go back in my mind, in my memory, as you guys see me working hard. 2019, COVID. Was staying at the Excalibur. Again, we were at Hypno Thoughts and getting ready to fly back. And I went down to the hotel that morning to the lobby to check out, and I knew something was horrifically wrong because everybody was at the counter, everybody was on their phone, and everybody was at a kiosk. There's all these people in the lobby. And I'm like, what in the world? I think a bunch of flights got canceled because of Spirit and Southwest and United. And I was on Delta and it was unaffected. And I was so happy that Delta was unaffected because Heather was with me. And if I had to go up and tell Heather our flight had gotten canceled, I would not be alive today. So that was one of the things. And I was just so thankful for that. But cancellation. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about, do you guys
Jim actually had a really great point with the whole baggage thing, because I went Frontier and I booked through them, but so my baggage was actually more expensive than my flights. So it's really a fair point. But I didn't have any problems. Again, I went earlier, I stayed later, I flew out on Thursday, and I only had a 2-hour delay. So that was great. Yeah. And mostly it was because they were taking Delta's people in to get them where they needed to go.
Oh, so it was I'm to blame. Thanks, Dan. So once again, you've messed us up. And so, but so let's talk about saving money now at the hotels and everything. And here's where I want to talk to Jim and Grant for a minute, because I was watching the Hypno News and Jim brought up a product from his Amazon account. And I just thought to myself, oh, that is brilliant. So I was just like, yeah. So, and it was about coffee. So I'm going to let Jim take that.
Well, honestly, Dan, it became kind of a fiasco because the coffee that I ordered sucked. It was awful. It was worse. It was worse than the cheap coffee that we had. It was some Italian blend thing. So I've taken that video off my Amazon account because I don't want people buying that coffee. It was terrible. Right. The coffee maker worked great. The problem that I ran into was, and I wasn't sure if I was going to return it or keep it. I'll probably keep it for other travel, but at the Sahara, the only convenient place to plug it in was the bathroom. And I don't like the idea of cooking stuff like in the bathroom. So, that was kind of weird. It's one of these older hotels that doesn't have enough plugs. And so, there was a plug situation going on over by the refrigerator, but it was kind of haphazard and weird. And there were a lot of things plugged in there. So it was, we made the one cup and it just, the coffee was just awful. So, but yeah, having a coffee maker, and I'll tell you, it's not just to save money, but I don't know if you guys have ever thought about this. If you've ever stayed at a hotel where they have a coffee maker, I want you to just think about for a moment, just imagine what's the grossest thing somebody could do to that coffee maker and assume it's happened. And you know that housekeeping is not swapping those things out. So head over to my Amazon channel and grab this coffee pot right now.
Best sales pitch ever.
It's a great point. I had a friend of mine that had a small B&B hotel type thing in Blackpool, which is a holiday resort. And the amount of time, this is why I never kind of use the hotel kettle. The amount of times they were saying of let's just say the things that they would find in the kettle. And so hearing that story, I would never use the in-room kettle because it's not what they could do. It's what stag parties and drunk people do.
Now that I'm going to have nightmares and not sleep, thank you for this very much. I packed my Keurig.
Mental magic hypnosis.
You did. You just did hypnosis, and it was a horrible image you implanted. I'm not going to live this out. I did halfway Vinny. I packed my small little travel Keurig totally worth it, worth the bag space and the bag cost. And then I headed over to Walgreens to get some coffee, heavy cream, and the basics. And I was set. And I didn't have to think about it. It was great. And now I know that nobody misuses my machines.
Except
So-
you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's what you said, Jim, and you were right. It's one of those things I don't think about because I'm a coffee drinker. At the Orleans, I remember going there to Hypno. I think that you could get a cup of coffee for like $3 or $4. Went to the Sahara, and $7. $7 for coffee. So
You
I mean
can
that's
get
like
water for $3 or $4.
I know. Yeah.
yeah. But I thought to myself, man, if you get like a cup of coffee every morning and that's $20-$30 you've just spent on coffee. And I could have packed a coffee maker and gotten coffee for far less than that. And then I've got coffee.
$20 for this one right here.
Yeah, $20. So that's worth the price right there.
And that's a write-off too,
Totally, yeah.
So,
yeah.
like cool.
So
I think Grant, was it you or somebody else that told me, but they heard about somebody like cleaning their underwear by putting it in the kettle, and
I have heard that people kind of boiling stuff in the kettle. I've heard about people cooking stuff in kettles as well.
yeah.
But that's not the worst thing I've heard about people doing in kettles.
Yeah.
Anybody who listens to this podcast is just like right now knowing that they had a cup of coffee from a hotel coffee pot. It's just they're
All
just
the
like,
time.
oh my
All
God,
the
I got to go
time.
to the doctor.
Who's it?
Sparkling with whiskey.
Did I see somebody with a blue light? They did a review on their room at the end of it with the blue light. Why you would want to blue light any hotel room, I have no idea.
Never.
Never. But by all accounts, it was fairly clean. Was the Sahara when it came to the blue light things? So,
That's good.
I was pleased. I was pleased for them. I know that is not something I would ever want to do.
No.
So to be fair, last year a lot of hotels had problems with bed bugs, and the Sahara wasn't one.
Oh.
So I'm thankful for that.
So if you're an attendee, know your coffee pot and your room. So whether it's clean or not, and I will never use another hotel coffee pot ever again. Thanks for that, guys. I'm going to the Amazon. You're going to make some money, Jim.
Right.
There's going to be a commission.
Just grab some instant coffee and a kettle. Something. I mean, I know we're scaring people now. They don't even want to go. They don't even want to travel. There's bed bugs. There's urine in the coffee maker. They're going to charge you too much.
To be fair as well, there was a Starbucks just outside the Sahara.
There is.
So you can save a couple of dollars there, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But I kind of like the idea of having my own coffee pot with me because I'm a bit of a coffee snob. I buy. I'll spend like $6, $7, $10 on a pound of coffee, just if it's decent. I'm not a Maxwell House drinker. It's not good to the last drop. It just isn't. So.
I don't think that's a lot of money, Dan, to spend on a pound of coffee.
Yeah. God, yeah. I think I buy. What do I buy? I know that oh my goodness, Seattle's Best. I usually get like a pound of Seattle's Best from Walgreens to Walmart there, Jim.
All right. That'll do.
Pound of Seattle's Best.
Yes.
I got a pound of Seattle's Best for you.
And here's where the podcast went off the rails. So
I think it's something that's important noting too is because I actually had somebody call me and ask me, Jim, how do you go to all these conferences and kind of what's the payoff? And really in the beginning, the only payoff is you're furthering your career and making money or not and making friends because and you just have to kind of sacrifice. I mean, my wife would much rather we go to Hawaii and frankly, in many ways I would too, but you're investing in I've found that and it doesn't pay off it right away. I mean, you make friends, which you can't put a value on that. Blah, blah. Anyway, But over time, you can start developing relationships and you can collaborate on things. You can eventually maybe you start teaching workshops and so you can make some money. But I mean, it's really, I think that if you go into this with this idea is how am I going to make money off this? It's not going to happen for a while, most likely.
Yeah.
No,
Absolutely.
I was actually thinking about that prior to this. It's like, what is the ROI? Because it feels very powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't point to a monetary thing necessarily, like Jim's saying, but I find connecting with you all incredible.
Yeah.
Like for me, I actually came to HypnoThoughts because I was like taking online courses about hypnosis. I wanted to help people quit smoking. It was like, is this real? Like I just didn't, you don't know. And then you come and you meet people that do this stuff all day, every day. And I feel like we suck up knowledge. I don't want to be like, I don't have like a scientific term, so suck up knowledge, but I feel like there's something about being around people that do it. It does reinforce things. I think you start to pick up on different things, little micro learnings along the way. I'm convinced it's helped me, but I can't point to like a direct, like I can't causally point it out. I think it's worth coming though. And then, like you said, Jim, the depth of friendships. I would say commit to coming to a conference for 5 years. Just commit 5 years. Just do it and help it grow. Show up with the right attitude. Like you're just here to learn. You're here to experience. You're here to help support other people. And I think there's a massive ROI on the back end. Like I have had several conversations now this year about like, hey, let's do something together. And people are really eager and excited. But if you're a first-time attendee, it wouldn't make sense for that to happen, right? People barely know who you are. So we commit to a 5-year thing, and I think it's just worth it. I think you'll get it.
Yeah.
Sean has got a great idea here. Investment over time will translate to money. So, yeah.
And I'm actually at a place now where I can point to those things, and Sean being one of those. I mean, Sean has become part of my team for Hypnosis Hero, and then also for the PHS team. I mean, you can't even put there's no way I could pay Sean what he's worth. I mean, the value that Sean brings to both of those, and then really being able to cultivate a kind of, I call it a deeper friendship with Grant Saunders, because we were friends online, but it's different. We started PHS because of that, because of the connection there. Amanda and I are talking about a collaboration now, collaborating with Dan on these various projects and stuff, which aren't necessarily money in the pocket, but they're opportunities also. So, I think, the friendships, absolutely. But people sometimes like, blah, blah, friendships, but there's so many other things that are going to come too. And also, if you're not a jerk, you gotta be somewhat pleasant. You don't have to be terribly pleasant, as you can see by Grant Saunders, I mean,
that's too bad. But yeah, it's those connections that you make at conferences that just make an absolute, you can build long lasting relationships where everybody wins. It's not about what can I get from you. It's like, what can we do together to raise everybody up?
Right.
So,
it's also inspiration via osmosis. That's the word you were looking for. Vinny, I got you. No, it's osmosis. So I go there, I'm inspired by someone else's take or perspective of, here is a problem I'm trying to solve with my hypnotherapy. This is the angle I'm looking at. How would you do this? And then you just get a whole other download of other ways people do things. And then it's, for me, even in my talk, it's like, how can I be a resource for you? And then you get that back. And that's really powerful. So I'll have relationships years and years from now, even if I stopped going to some of these conferences. And it's like, these are people I can lean on. These are people who've had more experience and have better approaches. That's huge value. You can't put a price tag on that.
So, actually, I can. It's the cost of the Hug Buster 7000 will be $13.95. I have an entire list of ingredients. So,
and there were more women lining up for you, Dan. I had to hold them off.
Me too. Dan Goyette hug is the best thing in the world.
Just because you guys like the look of pain on my face, I think that's
absolutely.
It's so funny. Look at it. He's horrified. He's in pain. I love it. So, but yeah. So one of the other things I want to talk about is I know that Amanda does events that she puts on through Transcendence and Trauma and the Salt Cave. I have yet to be to the Salt Cave, but it sounds interesting. Like I should go to the Salt Cave. Where are you at? Haven't been to the Salt Cave. I gotta check it out. So is one of the things. If you are on a group page, I'm going to say this right now. If you are on a conference group page, make sure to watch the videos of the conference coordinator. So I want to talk about that for a minute. I know that Jim over the years has had a bit of an eye twitch from things, but we always put on our customer service face and take care of it. Because we were talking about just that the other day. It's like, hey, how do I do this? And go ahead, Jim.
Well, I think what Dan is saying is before you hit up one of the organizers with a question, just see if you can find the answer, because most of the answers are there. It's either on the website or in the group. And I get it, because it's easy for you just to go shoot a message to one of us, and especially if we're friends or something. And the thing is I call it the death of 1,000 cuts, because it's just one little thing, right? But when you're inundated with these questions, and when they're questions that are really obvious, that really you should be aware of, because it's right there. If you look in the featured section in the group or something like the pin posts, I mean, it's all been covered before. Or this is the other one that's driving me nuts lately is, hey, what did I say I was going to do a talk on? Come on, guys. Come on. You need to, I just want to tell them, you'll find out when I put out the schedule, I guess, because it's really frustrating, because it takes me or Grant, we have to go in and look and find it and copy and paste it and send it back to you. And the software it's set up so it sends you a receipt of what you signed up for. So if you can find the answer, I would just say take a couple minutes and try to find the answer, because we are inundated with questions all day long.
It may only be like two minutes for you, but it's literally 200 minutes for us.
Yeah,
guys, I'm going to have to bail. I've got somewhere I've got to be. It's been absolutely amazing to be on here with you guys as well. Take care. See you soon.
All right. Thanks, Jim. Or Grant. You're Grant.
I'm
Grant.
we
look so much alike.
Yeah. See you later, guys.
I've known these guys for years. I keep superimposing them. Jim, Grant, Jim, Grant. But yeah, so I thought this would be a great, just some things, some tips and tricks to talk about, making sure that you're knowing what you're getting into at the hotel. Make sure you know what you're getting into with flights and baggage. Make sure that those costs, Lyfts and Ubers are in that cost. I spent, I know I spent over $200 on Lyfts and Ubers. Because I stayed at the Luxor and kind of had to go back and forth to the Sahara. So, still cheaper, still more inexpensive than getting a cab. I think the first year we were out there, I think a cab ride was like $30. We went somewhere. So if you're looking at a $13 Uber charge as opposed to a $30 cab ride, I think that's still better. I could not get my Uber thing to work out there, so I was able to get the Lyft to work, which I think is the Walmart of Uber. So
that's what I always use. What do you mean?
Did anybody else Uber or Lyft?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I spent well over $100 on it, and I stayed at the hotel. So
yeah.
So
yeah. My expenses for that mode of travel were somewhere between you and Dan. And I got out and about this year. I'd never really done that before. I usually just hung in the conference. And I think a little bit of coordination. So I think there's an opportunity here to coordinate with other people and to raise your hand and say, hey, I want to go check this out. Does anybody want to come? It might even heighten the experience a little bit. You could split a cost. I think this is like a thing I hadn't really thought about, because it was like $30 there, $30 back. I was like, well, whatever. I'm having a good time. But I think those are the types of things where there is a bit of an opportunity with a little bit of organization on the front end, a little bit of planning. And I found myself being quite spontaneous this time with some of the fun I got into. So
cool.
That's cool. I have no idea what you're talking about, Vinny.
I might have a guess. I love that singing.
No pineapples were harmed in the making of this.
Exactly. Yeah, I
Zero.
think if I make it out there next year, we should take Amanda to that show. She'll really like it.
Yeah. Oh no.
She's already looking at me like, okay, listen.
Suspicion. Yeah, no, I know too. I know better.
Yeah. First things first. One, don't trust Dan if the word tequila is mentioned ever. Yeah. Any final thoughts, guys, on tips and tricks to save money? Going over this as much as we can, just to try and save that money when you're traveling out there in the world, and to make sure that you know what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, simple things. Suntan lotion so that you don't have to buy it.
Yeah.
A power cord, an extension, even if you're not presenting. I had it for the Keurig. Life was easy. I used it again for my post-conference class because the presenter actually needed it for everybody to we had like a LAN party going in Scott King's class. It's pretty great. For those who know what a LAN party is. It's the little things, just scissors. I actually use them several times. Easy thing to pack. Efficient.
I love that.
I can't think what I would use for scissors for. Maybe running up and down the hallways, knowing me.
Yeah.
There you go. The scissors. Like, yay!
Yeah.
So security would chase. There's a guy in the hallway running with scissors.
I think my biggest tip would be, and this is something Daryl Wright worked me through, right? Before we went to the Michigan Hypnosis Conference, we were talking about all the different things, and it was just interesting. And he said, one way to think about it is like, this is just going to be the experience it's going to be. Just go dive into that, play full speed, enjoy yourself, but don't try to do too much with it. And understand people there, this isn't quite a money saving tip, but I think it's how you get the most bang for your buck, because I think the value is in the relationships and the human to human connection. Go in with that mindset, be respectful, but really be curious about what people are doing. Don't think you have answers, right? That would be silly for me. I talk to Jim, I talk to all these folks, they've been doing this stuff, way longer. They've got half a decade, some people several decades on me. I might have a thing or two to learn from them, right? I don't think that's an over exaggeration. There's a lot there. So I think just going in with that mindset and being willing, being open, it might challenge some stuff, you think, but I think it's going to help your skill set. It's going to help all these things elevate rapidly. And so it's more like squeezing as much value as you can out of it. And, for me, I went to classes that scared me. I'm like, oh, I don't know if I want to go. Let's go there. I'm afraid I should go do it. Right. It's going to cost me walking down the hall and being a little brave, or, being willing to experience whatever's going to happen. And I grew a ton from that. So those are sort of some of the things I would offer in terms of getting the most value. Money saving, I appreciate all your tips, folks. That's good. We'll account for those next time. Yeah.
It's a great attitude too, Vinny. And I caught myself at one point talking to somebody who I was kind of going in my mind, I know, or I do it differently, and then I was like, you know what? Let's open my mind up and just try to. And I have to remind myself this all the time. Like, you know what? I'm not learning when I'm shutting down. There's always a possibility of learning from everybody. And we talk about, Vinny talks about learning from people that have been doing this for decades, but we can learn from everybody. They're the little tidbits that people that have only been doing this for a year, they're stuff that you may have even forgotten, right? You're like, oh yeah, that's a really good point. So I would just say, while you're there, just keep an open mind and don't go in with that wall of like, well, I already know everything, because you don't. None of us do. And the saying, the more I know, the less I know. So just keep that open mind. And Amanda makes a great point. Bringing extra cables. I brought HDMI cables with me, even though I wasn't going to need them, just in case somebody else does, because you'll be a hero. Believe me, you're on their list now. You're like, oh my God, Amanda really saved the day. And so anything like that, the extension cords. Attila says that he brings I would love to get a link to that miniature projector that you use, Attila, if you have that, if you want to shoot that to my messenger or something. But if you bring things like that, even if you're not going to need them, if you fly Southwest, you can take a lot of stuff. Somebody else may need it, and you'll be a hero.
It's genius.
I actually, I saw someone who didn't have just a nice little USB easy lapel mic. And And they didn't have it. Like simple, you can call me gadget girl, basically. Anything I
Right
can
on.
bring to record my
Ooh, nice.
presentation to get more
you
out
go.
of it, and then to turn around and give value to my audience because they didn't get to come, but sometimes they'd like to be on that journey with us too. But any small things that you can have to back up just in case something goes wrong with the recordings of where you are, if they're offering that. I just like to be efficient and have my own stuff. I feel better. And then most of the time I get good use out of things. And then, yeah, you can be a resource and help somebody out.
Oh, yeah. I generally always go to at least one talk that is so far from science or academia as I possibly can, just to, I was like, I got to go to this talk. I think I've been to Victoria Gallagher's Law of Attraction talk, and I'm just like, that's as far as I'm going to get from what I do. And I know I've sat in on Amanda's talk. She actually has a picture of me near crystals. Just
Wow.
happenstance. I happened to be standing near them, and she couldn't help herself. Oh, okay. Yeah, we'll
Man,
take
it's not blackmail if you keep talking about it.
I know. That's why I keep talking about it. Like, so about that presentation, I'm accepted, right? Yeah. So those are some great tips, great tricks. I'm going to be bringing a coffee pot with me to, save some money while I'm there. And I might actually look at Southwest. It's been a long time since I've flown them. So, but I didn't know about the baggage situation.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
yeah,
That's nice.
yeah, that's a great tip. Great, and one thing I'll say before I let us all go here and get some closing thoughts is if you have a bad experience at the hotel, you know what? Don't let that go. Don't just, oh, well, whatever. It's a bad experience. I was able to get at least something out of it from the hotel. They comped us 4 free tickets to a show. All right. If you're having a bad experience, you don't have to be mean about it, but you can say, hey, listen, is there what can you guys do for me, to help this stay be better, which is basically what I did. I didn't let it go, and we went to the free show. So, ask about those comp opportunities at the hotel. Ask about those things that can do that. If you forget a razor, I did that at your conference, Jim. I was like, where's my razor? They had a razor right there at the desk. They just gave it to me at the Marriott. So those are some things that will happen. So, all right, that's my last closing thought. Any closing thoughts from you guys?
Don't forget your business cards. You don't know how many people I've seen do that. Do you have a business card? No.
Some people don't think they need business cards anymore. I think you should still keep them, but there's better ways to connect, but you should still have some. Hey, guys, I got to run. Good to see you all.
All righty. Jim?
Yeah.
Glad you were here. Thanks for joining us. So, all right.
Yeah.
So I think that's it from the Hypnocafe podcast and magazine. I almost forgot the name of my own show. How sad is that?
Easy to do. It's easy to do.
Yeah. So I'm going to thank our guests for being here. Jim Kellner, Grant Saunders, Vinny Brigance, and of course, the amazing Amanda Dodd. Thanks for being here, guys. And keep watching for more from Transcendence and Trauma. So I think that the next episode, Amanda is actually going to be beating me with a hammer. That'll be the trauma portion. No, I'm just kidding. You guys have a good day. And as always, hey, I'll see you out there. And I'm stopping the video right now. You can see me. I'm clicking on it.